live in an unspecified amount of time that we don't know.
Hang on a minute, you're a music live streaming collaboration app, and this isn't live?
Well, we don't know. I mean, now it might be live.
Where's the CPO?
Yeah. We're probably live. We're probably live now. Hi. This is mental. I mean, you can't on the stream. You can't see this. We don't have a camera on our socially distanced audience, but we do, for the first time in 4 months, have a room with people who are a metre apart. And we have the windows open and the doors open, so there's sufficient ventilation. So just covering all our backs there. But yeah. So this is actually a format that we wanted to do. It was basically the main reason why we kind of like opened HQ in March. We basically signed a lease on this place in March, just before the pandemic hit. And the idea was to do exactly things like this. A bunch of people in a room, and then also streaming out on the internet. I guess it's a sort of boiler room style format, but instead of just like banging out music to dance floors, we are here to look at the context, the process, and specifically, the journey, the creative journey. And I think as as Endless has developed, and like everyone in this room has had a contact with Endless, we kind of come to realise that what really happens here, and not just on Endless, but in the sort of the creative world of music in general, is that like we're a bunch of people on our creative journeys. We're all at different stages on this creative journey. Some people are just listeners, and some people have just maybe discovered playing around with music, and some people are a long way on their journey and have sort of devoted themselves from quite a young age to a creative path. And the way the music industry has framed music since for the last 150 years or so, since
the dawn of the invention of the vinyl.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, has been as a product, and we all we kind of orientate our creative lives around creating these products. And nowadays, there's been a big hoo-ha on the internet about Spotify, about how Danny Leck was talking about musicians are going to have to work harder and release more music, and obviously musicians didn't take kindly to being told that. But then on the other side of that, you've got Bandcamp doing Bandcamp Fridays, and all lots of musicians have been digging through their archives and releasing more stuff on Bandcamp Fridays. So it's really interesting that there's a sort of distance there, that people do actually musicians do like to do stuff regularly, but the point is it's very hard to cut through, and we're in this era now where there is a lot of competition for a tiny amount of attention, and there's not enough attention to go around, and we need a new purpose for music. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. I'm not here to like pitch Endless and rabbit on. I'm here to talk to but we're here to talk to and listen to Cherif Hashizume.
Hi. Well, thanks for having me, Tim.
Massive pleasure.
I feel really honoured to be here because, we've known each other for God knows how long.
Well,
it's nearly 10 years.
Nearly 10 years?
Yeah. So, and I still remember the day I saw your performance on stage. I think it was like some festival in Poland.
Oh, right.
And I was like, what's going on? And then I literally just begged because I was a front of house sound engineer back then for this guy called John Hopkins, and John was obviously a good friend of you, so I was like, John, could you just take me to Tim's backstage, and I just want to say hello and just figure out like what software he's using. And you were nice enough to say, show me the Reactor stuff, and then and we toured a few times, a couple of times, haven't we? Doing your sound, and then I just sort of got a bit more busy with studio work, so I sort of started doing that. But it's just like you said, the journey of it is
Well, I think that's a really interesting jumping off point because you you know, I met you when you were doing sound for John, and then you started doing sound for me, and then you've gone on. You've mixed a lot of John's records. You've mixed Brian Eno's records.
Oh no, recorded.
Oh, you recorded. Sorry, you recorded.
Yeah.
Sorry, I must get. Yeah, okay. It's so weird. There always very different like silos of things you do. Now I didn't mix it, and I recorded it. And I like grabbed the data, or I massaged the data and turned it into a record, and then I sent it to a guy who did extra massaging. That's a mastering engineer, and they're different. Anyway, but yeah. So you did that. So you're. Almost like in your character, you're very good at like facilitating other people's creativity. But then also, in the last few years, you've really gone deep in your own creativity, and I think that's something really interesting. And tell us. Well, I said so. The first question is like, when did you know you were a musician?
Oh, that's kind of goes back quite a long time ago. So my first actual music experience was probably 7 or 8. So out of blue, which my mum always does, she decided I should learn how to play piano. So she got me a piano tutor, and I really didn't click with it. So I did a couple of years, but I never practice when the tutor's not around, so I wasn't improving at all. I'll just play the piano when she was there. And then, so obviously I gave up on it, and then for some reason I decided to join a brass band in my secondary school. I wanted to play saxophone, but because I was tall and big back then, I was assigned to do tuba. And I'm like, okay, this is not fun. So that didn't last. That I gave up in like 6 months. And then, but I really liked the brass instrument, so I decided to take up on the trumpet tutor. And that went on for about a year, but then this massive earthquake hit, and I kind of lost contact with it.
Right.
Yeah, so it was like,
yeah,
I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I basically sort of gave that up again. So my early history of like relationship with music is like a lot of giving up.
Right. Yeah.
And then I think it was when I was 16. That's when the actual initial, like a proper journey began. When my friend took me to a guitar shop because he played guitar and he wanted to get some strings. So I was just, walking around the shop, just sort of looking at things. And then this sort of Ibanez beginner's bass guitar set sort of caught my eyes. It was about £200. And it comes with the bass and the straps and the little amps and the tuner, the whole lot. And I was like, oh, that's £200. And then I just opened my bag, and on the bottom of my bag, I completely forgot about it. There was an envelope. It was the money I got from doing a part-time job in my spring break.
Wow.
And I opened it up, and there was £200 inside. So I'm like, okay, the universe is telling me something.
Wow.
So I'm just gonna buy this and start playing bass guitar. And then after a few months, I still couldn't even nail one simple song. A friend of mine called me up and he said, oh, so you play bass guitar, right? And I'm like, well, I got a bass guitar, but I can't really play it. And he was like, oh, it's fine, it's a punk band, you can just come. And so I turned up to the rehearsal, and my friend was like, oh, just like, keep that one note, just keep it going. And I did, and that was the moment. I was like, wow, this is amazing, because because up to that point, my experience was pretty much, apart from the brass band, but still, I wasn't good enough to be part of the band. Mm-hmm. So up to that point, my experience was always just me, playing the instrument. And then just suddenly just have a few other people in the same room. And we're actually playing together, and that kind of union of multiple musicians to create one piece. That's the moment. I was like, wow, this is just so amazing. And then just the rabbit hole, you know.
Another 20 years of just like, I've gone to modular and like, I toured with some really great artists. And here we are today.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that was my initial sort of enlightenment.
Right. That's amazing. It's so poetic as well. I think it's sort of
do you think so?
your first. Well, to me it sounds really poetic. Your kind of first musical experiences ended in an earthquake, like this massive intervention of nature.
Yeah.
And then it restarted with this kind of weird serendipity when you found this bag of money that you'd forgotten about at the bottom of your bag, right when you'd just seen that. And then what capped it off is you got in a room, this guy was just, come and play that one note on the bass, and that's really interesting. So where did you go from there? You had what did that spark, and what momentum did that give you?
Okay, so I think as I said, that was a punk band. I was really into punk rock back then. So obviously when I was about to finish my high school. So this was my parents' sort of approach. So I had the choice of, if I want to like get out of school after high school, that's fine. I can just get a job. But if I wanted to just carry on, staying school and go into higher education, I should be going to UK, because that's where they met. They studied. They both got. They both graduated uni in the UK, so they really liked it. So they wanted me to have that same experience.
Yeah.
And I was like, brilliant. The UK is a birthplace of punk. I'm just gonna go to the OG place to learn about it. So I came to. So I moved to Oxford. I studied a little bit English first, because I literally couldn't speak a word of English when I moved here.
Wow. What age was that?
18.
18?
Yeah.
Wow.
And thanks
Learned
to...
all your English since you're 18?
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah. And thanks to amazing Japanese education system, where they do teach English for about 6 years, but nobody can speak a word of it.
Right.
So I came, I just sort of, picked up the basic English so I can actually understand what's going on in the uni course. And then about a year later, I got into Thames Valley University music performance diploma, and I started basically studying how to play bass guitar. But then I really soon realized that the course was designed to just make a session player, and I really didn't want to be a session player. I never had that kind of finesse in my. Well, I'm a punk bass player.
Right. Yeah.
All I wanted to do is just make some noise. So I was kind of, and then so I had this sort of moment of disconnection from the course. And then that combined with me just, because I was, quite behind compared to some of those like super advanced guys in the class, because some of them were like really wanted to be a session player. So, they've already played in some crazy jazz fusion bands, and, they know their music theory inside out.
Yeah.
And me, here I am, I was like, what's a triad? so I started to feel this disconnection, and then I suffered RSI on my wrist, so I had to stop for a few months.
Was that from playing the bass?
Yeah, playing the bass. Right. I was like literally practicing like 8 hours a day.
Wow.
Non-stop.
Wow.
Because I wanted to,
Yeah.
it's good.
Really on a mission. Yeah.
So I was like, and then at the same time, I basically discovered club scene. And I started going into loads of techno nights that was happening in London in the early 2000s. There was a lot of good techno nights back then. So again, it's just the moment of universe telling me, it's like, okay, here's a choice. You rest for a few months and then carry on studying bass guitar, or you can just call it a day and move on to music tech, because I wanted to produce electronic music, but by the time. So, and obviously me being a student, I had to be in the school to have my visa to stay here, and I really didn't want to leave. So I spoke to my parents and I explained that I just don't enjoy the course anymore, so I wanted to just basically switch my major, and they agreed, thankfully. So so I basically decided to leave Thames Valley University and then enrolled myself to another diploma in Newham College.
Right.
And that's where I met Mark Sutherland, who was my tutor and the owner of
Cafe Music. Yeah.
So and then basically me and Mark, I was still in the band back then, so I played my band stuff. Mark really loved it, so he invited me and my band to his studio, and we really loved it. So we started to record stuff there, and then
so Cafe Music Studios is a bit of a like kind of aside cutaway to Cafe Music Studios. I thought there was a dog for a moment. That was Echolox running on the. So Cafe Music Studios is this amazing, like really sort of DIY hand-built studio, basically kind of just off the A12 somewhere near in Bow. That like in the heart of like the grime, where grime started and so on. But anyway, it's this amazing studio. All the everything's very hand built, and obviously John Hopkins used to have his studio there.
He still does. Yeah.
Oh, he still does. I thought he's moved it into his.
Oh no, he's building it now.
He's building it, right? Okay. And that's kind of like where I first met Cherif and John, and it's just it's a amazing place. Very like very
homely.
Keeping it real, very homely. Yeah.
So that's how I met Mark, and I started going to Cafe Music. And then after the diploma, I moved on to SAE to get my recording arts degree. And then when I finished that, I went back to Cafe Music one day, and I think I was like, I got a demo I recorded with like 2 mics in a rehearsal studio, and I thought I'd recorded quite well, so I played it to Mark because we were going to record those new songs, so I wanted him to hear it, and Mark's just sort of listened to it, and he just suddenly went, "Have you got a job?"
It's the best like I want to hire you line ever. Amazing.
And I said, not really. And he was, "Oh, do you want to work here?" And I'm like, "Yes."
Amazing.
And that's so I never ever wrote a CV in my life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, your character and your, the work you do, the way you are with people. I mean, that is basically your CV.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Especially in music. I mean, maybe if you're kind of a proper professional in some professional industry, then you do need a tight piece of paper that tells you all your achievements. But the thing that really strikes me is like you have really put the hours in on a lot of different things. You put the hours on the bass, and now you put the hours in on learning to produce. You put the hours in on learning to do live sound, and now you put the hours in on modular, and you put the hours in on Max. Like, what keeps you going on this? Because that's a huge amount of commitment and energy to put into it.
Well, I mean, I don't know. It kind of happens naturally for me in a weird way. I don't know, maybe I'm just always a bit bored.
Most people like take to Netflix in that. So like, what stops you Netflixing?
I think it's just so for example with Max and production as well. What happens is I always kind of forget the time to the point that I actually forget to eat.
Right.
And then
I don't.
It's almost like kind of. I mean, you used to meditate, so you know that feeling of, you're in that moment.
Yeah.
And you're so focused, and nothing else is nothing else matters in that moment because
Yeah.
you're so connected with what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it is. So I end up just forget time and just spend 8 hours or 10 hours
Yeah.
patching stuff or making something on Ableton, and then just suddenly just come out of that almost like a gnosis of
Right.
it, thinking, oh my god, I'm really tired and really hungry, so I
Right.
should stop.
Right. Yeah.
So that's the kind of, so it's not like I'm intentionally putting my effort into it, it just kind of happens naturally, I guess. So, and again, also just working in the Cafe Music studios, well, it's a commercial studio, and we did a lot of local artists, and when you're working with sort of local artists with low budget, they obviously want to get the most of the day. So, I used to just had to, I had no choice but pull like 13, 14-hour sessions that last for like 6 days solid.
Yeah.
So, obviously you kind of build up stamina to do that. I mean, I don't do that anymore.
Right.
but-
Yeah. No.
but,
I'm good. Good.
In my 20s, I had
Yeah.
the stamina to do it, so I kept on doing that as well. So I guess it's a kind of mixture of those things.
Yeah.
It's kind of obviously racks up if you
Yeah.
do it for nearly more than 20 years, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's really great, you're here and you're clearly not burnt out and you're still full of energy and you're still like doing new things. That's amazing. Like, what's the secret to like
I guess
sort of staying alive, staying young?
I think Max and modular is the key, I think, for me, because with Max, you obviously have to make new things to kind of progress your patch. And again, modular, even if I have the same modules, I always end up patching it differently, and it gives the new ideas. Everything is kind of in a constant flux. And I think that really helps me, because I do, like I said, I do get bored very, very easily. So I always have to like come up with something new to sort of entertain myself.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I do love, Netflix, but I do get bored eventually.
Yeah.
By, so yeah, maybe I'll binge one series, but then I'm not going to binge another one straight away.
Yeah. Yeah.
But instead I was, I think I should open Max and start experimenting with, the idea that came to me kind of thing. So yeah, that's a kind of, and plus, like, with Max, you literally don't have to spend a penny
Right.
on,
Modules.
well, modules, yes, but so all you have to spend is your time.
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think
yeah.
that's another thing to.
Yeah.
So I'm just constantly on it, just patching
Yeah.
different things, and I recently started playing with OpenGL, and it's really frying my brain.
Right.
Because,
But you kind of like it, don't you? You kind of like it.
I love it. I'm such a
Like
sucker
a good
for-
fry.
Yeah,
a brain fry.
mathematical fry.
So this, so what you're doing now, your musical journey has taken you through all sorts of things, and now you're doing this. It's very digital and it's very analog, and it's very. Well, I don't know. I was going to say it's very something, and then I was just like, well, I don't even know what it very is, but it's very something. But it's somehow like this expresses everything that has taken you to the point you are. Maybe this is a bit of a weird curveball question, but do you have an idea of like how this somehow expresses, like, encapsulates your musical life so far, or?
Well, yeah, I think it was. This actually represents my journey of. Okay, so I was in a band for quite a long time, and the last band I was in was a kind of jam blues punk band, and so we just basically get together. Someone's gonna start playing something. You figure out the key and you just sort of join them. And like 20 minutes later, we just think, oh yeah, I think we got a song. You know, it was like making music with them was so instant. And then from there to basically move on to music production, I suddenly had this moment of deduction where I had to just sit in front of a computer with mouse and a keyboard, and I'll listen to a loop hours on end, and thinking, this is a bit sad. And then I saw you perform on stage, and you literally just came up on the stage and you said, I don't have any songs, so just tell me what you want to hear and I'll do it.
Oh, that shtick. Yes.
Yeah, that shtick.
Sorry about that.
No, don't be.
I should have prepared more.
And when I saw that, I was like, oh wow, there's someone out there doing exactly what I wanted to do. The making music in the moment. You don't have to write a song, learn the song, prepare for it. You can just do it on that moment. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna learn how to do that.
Right.
And then, yeah, I think this is like 6-7 years later.
Right.
Here I am.
Wow.
The whole, I mean, first 2 years was excruciating. So
Yeah, I feel you.
I started with Reactor because you used Reactor, so I thought, okay, I'm going to learn Reactor. I was like completely lost because I just couldn't figure it out. And then there was another free one. I just couldn't remember the name, but it was like kind of similar visual coding environment which let you design
Audio mulch?
something like that.
Visual?
No, not visual. It let you design like VST plugin.
Oh.
No, I can't remember.
Any other ideas? Node-based.
It wasn't PD.
Node-based digital modulars. Quick round. Quick audience round. Synth Edit
Oh.
from William Sharkey. Synth Edit for Windows.
No, it was on Mac OS.
Oh.
Yeah. It was maybe Audio Mulch, I don't know. But
What's my Composer desktop project?
Was it Xcode?
no. so I failed Reactor. I failed that. I downloaded Super Collider, stared at the white window for about 2 hours and gave up. Same with PD, and then eventually I discovered Macs. And for me, because they come with a very extensive set of tutorials, so and their community is quite helpful as well. You post like an absolute beginner question on their community, on their community forum, and there will be some nice person instead of say Google it, they'll tell you.
Nice.
Quick
Shout out to the Enders community there for being like that with people.
Yes.
Woo!
That's what we need.
This is what we need. This is what the future world will be built on.
yeah,
People
that's-
being
I think-
nice to people who want to know stuff.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and just their community have this kind of very sort of progressive and inclusive community attitude where everyone understands the first few years of like constantly hitting the brick wall, but some you feel like they have your back by So after about 2 years of me opening every single tutorial patch that comes with Macs and playing with it and trying to figure out what it's doing, and then I read those two books by Maurizio Zicchi, the owner of cycling.
Oh, not David Zuccarelli.
Oh, David Zuccarelli, and he co-wrote it with another
Right.
Anyway, it's called the Sound Design and Coding in Max MSc or something like that. They have 2 volumes. Any Max users out there, I recommend it. It's such an amazing book. So you know, just spending like every kind of free time I have to just learn that myself was that was another journey on its own.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But eventually I got this setup where
Yes.
literally, you know, come on a stage without having to write any songs and then just do it. It's just it's really tremendous.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen you play it a couple of times now. You did like just after we finished our Kickstarter campaign, we had a very even smaller. There was like 5 or 6 of us here. Cherif did a set. You know, it was like unorganized, but you know, you came up and we sort of basically hung out and you did a set, and I was just like, I was really captivated by it, and I was just I mean, I would say, without further ado, is the word, or is the string of words. Well, do you want to give us a quick run through, or should we just go straight? Yes. Yeah.
Cool.
Quick run through.
Okay.
Basic overview, because I know. I mean, like, if I was explaining my rig, I would just go. I'd spend it take me 8 hours, and I know it would take you 8 hours to explain your rig, but
no.
Overview.
I'm happy to. So I have my modular synths. Obviously, this is always you know, kind of quite captivating thing. So this at the moment is configured to be like a 3-voice, super glitchy drum machine, basically, or it's more of a rhythm box. And so basically the core of this is the Rebel Tech Owl, which is it's basically a microcontroller, and I can actually code any kind of DSP on Max Gen and then basically load it onto this module, and that's doing all the glitch sort of effects on this. And then the rest is basically I got 2 oscillator, 1 noise generator, and you know the usual VCF, VCA with a couple of sequencers, creating the pattern, and then that goes into, and then basically Max is feeding an audio clock into that, so it syncs tightly without any, you know, like you know, because if you do that over MIDI, when you do it over MIDI clock, in half an hour it will be like really out. So this is like an audio rate sync to my Max, and then on my Max patch I have a straightforward-ish.
That's what I will say. Yeah, it's really straightforward-ish.
I have like an 8-voice drum machine, and then I have a kind of aim and break sampler thing when I menu dive. And then all the strips are, it has like a different parameters for each voice. And then when I touch it, it automatically records the automation, and then I can switch between the state, you know, the static one or 1-bar loop of the automation or 2-bar loop automation. So that kind of creates a little bit more movement.
Right. Yeah.
And then over here I have my mono synths and polysynths. So the mono synths, it uses the oscillator bit of it is I use this wave splicing technique, which on every cycle of the oscillator I splice 2 oscillators.
Okay, yeah.
So and then I can.
Is it hard splice or do you crossfade?
No, it's like a super hard.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So you have this like a kind of really nasty.
Yeah. So it's very buzzy. Like yeah.
But I can change the amount of splice as well, so you can get different overtones, and then that goes through the gem-based like a Moog type ladder filter, so you get that really nice fat, clean kind of bass sound. And then I have a polysynth, which is a little bit more kind of straightforward because I sort of built it, you know, a few months ago. still kind of.
I love these like bleeding edge
Yeah.
features.
So there's that, and then this is the kind of the multi effects and the looper, which is inspired by your flow machine.
Right.
So I have
And endless, which is endless, which is inspired by.
There you go.
Yeah.
So each button will turn on different effects, which is basically can be dynamically routed.
Right.
And then the looper is you can re-loop back, through the effects again. The usual shebang.
Well,
I basically nicked your idea.
well, that's fine. It's out there to be used.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 7 instruments, I guess.
Yeah. Nice. So with a bit of, and I'm not sure if we've actually managed to assemble the thing. So we said when we sent the mailer out yesterday, we said that we would be sampling bits of your set into an endless jam. I don't know. I'm just looking to Matt to see, did we actually manage to get this working? Okay, we'll try and find a way to get this working while Cherif's playing. So hopefully, at least by the end of your set, we'll have an endless jam.
I'm really
with
looking forward
lots
to
of
that.
different snippets of what you've done throughout your set, and then our dear Endersons can then dive in and mash it up and Lehman maneuver it and smoosh it and gate it and so on. So yes, now without further ado, let's crank up. This
All right.
think about.
Well, shall I just sort of play something and then get
Do
the
you
level?
wanna, turn up the PA a little bit?
Oh, yeah,
I'm gonna close the windows at the back because we've got neighbours.
What
at the
about
back.
my microphone?
Oh, we'll just turn it off.
Yeah.
Just turn them off. So I'm going to turn them off the mics, or she's going to turn the mic. Massive thanks, round of
Hi,
I don't know,
thank you.
socially distant
Thank you.
applause. Cherif Hashizume. So here we go. Well, however long you want to play for, really.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.